Hi and welcome. In this video, I want to show you how you can extend one of the built-in resource types of SPSyn. If you don't know, SPSyn is a new solution that I built. It's available on Codeplex, spsyn.com. You can just go there to pick it up. It's a solution that allows you to inject content into a page using a delegate control that runs in the background. Now, the way SPSyn has been designed is to be incredibly extensible. So what we're going to do now, I'm just first going to show you basically how SPSyn works, and in order to do that, I'm going to actually start by creating, and I'm going to clear out everything. I'm going to create a new site collection. I'm going to kill the old one because I've been doing some experiments on that. We just want to make sure we start out completely clean. So I'll create a new site collection really quick here. We don't bother about anything in particular. We're just going to create something very simple. And by the way, I'm cheating a bit here. I'll walk you through everything that we need to do. But I just wanted to show you, as I said, SPSyn briefly how it works, so you can understand that. And obviously you can see the full walkthrough of SPSyn in a different video that's on YouTube. If you just search for that, you'll find it. But it's important to understand what these different components of SPSyn really are. So if you just now start by taking a look at the site, first of all, there's a really simple way of activating everything. You'll see here that there are actually two custom solutions that I have available here. This is SP sample data extractor, which is a solution I've built previously. It'll allow me to take data out from a SharePoint list and then create a feature from it. I'll show you that in a different video. But what I want to do is I just want to activate this SPSyn setup feature, and once I do that, it'll essentially set everything up for me, and I now have my site settings, and I can go in here and I can look at these different configurations and manage my resources here. So the important thing here, and I just wanted to show you this now, is that on the manage resources list, it's just a plain SharePoint list. There's nothing magical about it, and as you can see here, there are basically two content types that I've added to this list. This is script resource and this is style sheet resource, and these come out of the box with SPSyn, and basically they'll allow you to put any script or any style sheet on any page, or you can filter them using a URL. So if we wanted to add a script, for instance, to this, we can basically just add a title here, and we can add a resource address, which obviously is the address for the script, and then we have the URL filter, which will basically just limit the pages where we want to put this script, if we want that. As completely optional. So what I want to show you in this video is how we can create one of these types of resources, and I want to just in this case I want to extend this existing script resource, and I want to extend it by ensuring that we have a setting here that will prevent displaying this script resource to anyone except site owners and then members of the site owners group. So I want to show you how to do that. It's dirt simple. You just need to understand the concepts here. So before we do that, I just wanted to sort of show you what I have here. First of all, you can do this in any tool you like. You can use the built-in Visual Studio tools for SharePoint if you want. In Visual Studio, you can use Notepad, whatever you want. All of this is based on plain, simple, good old, SharePoint third-tier development. There's nothing magical about this at all, as long as you sort of understand how these pieces fit together. It is really easy to see to build and extend these components yourself. So in this case, I'm using Visual Studio 2008, and I'm using WSP Builder. It's just my preferred tool. So you can, as I said, use anything you like, as long as it delivers a content type, as long as you're able to sort of modify that content type and optionally build a DLL if you want that, then you're perfectly fine. And if all of this is foreign to you, by the way, then definitely this is not your sort of cup of tea. You probably don't want to start on any of this unless you understand how how to do this. Let's just get started and see how all of this works. As I mentioned, the script types or the resource types that are available here are essentially just content types. And I'll just show you how these content types look in SharePoint Manager, which is basically a object model browser. If you haven't used it before, it's incredibly powerful and versatile. I'll leave sort of the how cool that is for another video. But essentially, what it allows you to do is go in and browse through all of your content inside a site or anything else. So if you look at this script resource, for instance, what you can see here now is that inside this is actually the schema XML for that content type. So essentially you'll see two important things here. First of all, there's a field here called the resource address that's inherited actually from a core content type which contains these fields to fill out. And there's also a URL filter here, and that's both of these actually are inherited from the base content type that is the SPSYN script resource. As you can see here, this is actually the root sort of content type for these resources. Now, the other thing you'll notice at in this content type is that there is a custom XML document inside here, and what that basically does, it defines a receiver assembly and a receiver class, and this is basically a class which will be loaded while or when the evaluation happens. The delegate will go through all of the items, it will find the correct content type, it will load this assembly, and then it will evaluate whether this script or this resource should be processed. And if that happens, then it will call a special method inside that assembly. And I just wanted to show you now in one of the solutions that I've built. This is as I said, just a sample thing. You can obviously do this as complex as you want. In this instance, I have a sample resource handler which inherits from the script resource handler, which is the handler for you know, if you want to add a script to a page. And I'll basically just walk you through all of this and show you how this works now first. So as I said, it inherits from the script resource handler. There are two methods in this class that you can override. But essentially this one, because the only thing I want to do is I want to extend the existing script type. I don't need to change the output in any way. But there's actually a second method here. I don't want to type too much because my keyboard is really noisy. But if there's a second method here that I can override as well, and if I do that, you'll see that it is basically get resource string, which allow me to change the output from this particular resource type. So if I overload that, I get a context, and the context, let me actually show you this now because it might make more sense to see it in action. In the context, there are two contexts. One of them is an SP context. Just need to add the reference here, like that, which is stored in the context.context property. This essentially allows me to you know, pick up any kind of information from the currently running SP context, such as, you know, what web we're running in, if we are in a particular list, if there's a you know, the user that's running this, whatever I want to access in a SharePoint context, I actually now have that in this SP context object. I also have the HTTP context, which is also useful because that allows me to filter on things like, I haven't actually added this here, so I need to add a reference to system.web if I want to have that available, and it'll take a couple of moments just to open that. But the HTTP context is basically just the request for the page, which is handled by IIS. So now that I have that added, I can just, as I said, get the HTTP context from the context.HTTP context like this, and obviously now I can make any kind of queries, and I can, you know, check the properties, whether there's, you know, any, you know, browser properties, or you know, check the query string, whatever I want to do. And I also in the context have a user object, which is the current user. that is running this context. And I can actually get that directly from the SP context, but I have also included it here in the context here. So well, no, sorry, not SP user, the SP item. Sorry, just confused here for a moment. So the current item that is running, and this actually takes a bit of explaining, because this is the item that has been created based on this content type. So I'll show you that in just a moment. But as I said, essentially this allows me to query whatever configuration the user has added. And in the default ones, we have basically added the resource address, so we can get that property. We can get item and a resource address, like this, and this will then contain the value for the actual address that we want that the user has entered. We also have, as I said, the filter, which is the URL filter, is also available here, so we can check against those. Now, this allows me to output any kind of string. So you can overload this, and you can output pretty much anything that you want as part of the header of that page. So you can add something like if you have SEO properties that you want to output, you can easily do that as well. You can write a filter that will essentially, pick up whatever current context there is, and then load, any kind of properties from the object, whatever you want to do. This is, you have all the power. So let me just walk you now briefly through this sample resource handler, and then explain to you how that works. As I said, basically it checks, there's two methods here. One is the get resource string, and the other one is should load, which essentially returns a Boolean. It's either true or false. Either this should run or it shouldn't run. And I'm just, as I said, by default setting this to not run. There's only one situation in which we actually want to run this, and that if the current user is part of the owners group or site owners group of this, the current web. So essentially, the first thing I want to check is I want to check the base should load method, and this checks the parent class of this property or this class, and that allows me to easily inherit the behavior of the parent class, which in this case is the script resource handler. So that will check all the filtering for me, and then any kind of other properties that I have, and obviously you can create new child properties or new child resource types from this one as well. And then just call this base should load, which will essentially evaluate whether the parent, in this case the script resource handler, which in this case will check the URL filtering for us. Now, if this runs, then we can keep processing, and if it doesn't run, then obviously the result will remain false, and we don't need to worry anymore about processing, because the parent resource type says this shouldn't run, because in this case the URL filter doesn't match. So the second thing, or provided that the parent type says that we should load, then essentially we want to check a property here, which is called only site owners. The way this works is that it has a new field that's defined in the content type, which essentially is named only site owners. It's a yes and no field. So if this one is set to, and we're just checking here if it even has a value, it's just necessary because you can't query the item if it doesn't exist. So you'll actually get an error message if there's if it doesn't exist, you get an exception. And then provided that it has a value, we just want to try to see if this is if this is even a Boolean value. Technically it can be any kind of value, and the user can change it. We want to make sure that it is a Boolean value, and if that Boolean value actually evaluates to true, which is this statement here, then we want to check if the context and the context object of which is the SP context, and the web and the associated owner group contains the current user, and if it does, only then are we going to set the result of this evaluation to true. Now, if any of these steps fail at any point, we are not going to output this content at all. You'll notice that I haven't actually added anything to the get resource string here, because I'm basically just outputting the same thing as the parent type would, so I don't need to worry about that at all. The only thing I'm adding here is an additional filter, which checks that the current user is part of the site owners group. And also, let me show you this content type really quick here. First of all, the first thing that I do is that I create the field that's deployed as a site column. So I'll deploy this. As you can see here, it's called only site owners. And then I reference that in a content type ID, which is script with site owner filter. And then I essentially point to the assembly that's created from this sample resource type and the namespace and the class name of this, the particular class that we just looked at, this sample resource handler here. So, and this is everything you need to do, and I think you know, this is also the extent to which you need to understand to make this to make a resource type. So if we now just build this WSP, we can deploy it, and obviously, as I said, this is plain SharePoint. There's nothing, you know, magical going on at all, except, you know, there's a special class here that you need to add to the XML documents, and, you know, a simple copy and paste and create that strong name. So we can now deploy this. Obviously, as I said, you can create additional, you know, fancy things like automatically adding this content type to the list, or you can, you know, deploy other resources if you need to have, you know, special types of script resource or content type resources, images or anything. Forms, you can obviously put that on. You can do pretty much whatever you want because, as I said, this is just plain SharePoint. There's nothing magical going on here. But because this is, as I said, as simple as possible, what I need to do now is just go in and activate this this feature. Obviously, because it's a site collection feature, or not obviously in 2010, but I'm using a site collection feature essentially just to maintain a potential, at least backwards compatibility with SharePoint 2007. I'm using a site collection content type, or a site collection feature to deploy the content types. So I'll need to go into site collection features here, and then I want to activate this sample resource type like this. Now it's active. The second thing I need to do is just to add this content type to this resource list that's available here. I'll just go to the list and the list settings. As I said, you can automate this if you want that. So I want to add a content type from existing content types. And in this case, I think it's stored in the custom content types. Yep, here it is. So I'll add it like that. And now you'll see it's available here. So if we go back to our list now, we'll go into items and we'll click a new item. You'll see that it's available here. And as you see here, we haven't you know, added any of the resource address or URL filter or anything like that. Those are inherited from the parent content type, so it's you know, extensible. You can keep building on the existing ones, or you can create new ones from scratch. You can do, as I said, pretty much whatever you want. So let's say that we want to add a jQuery reference here, because that's the only one I remember in my head. I'll try to keep my typing as simple as possible. The CDN for jQuery is code jQuery.com/jQuery.min.j. I don't actually remember if this is correct, but it's still, you know, doesn't really matter. And as I said, the URL filter, you can add that if you want. And here's the column that I added as part of this content type, which is only site owners. I'll leave this on for the moment. Let's just save this now. And if you now look at the source, you'll see that we have a reference to this jQuery added to the page. So we know this is working, obviously, because now I'm logged in as the site administrator. So let's try this with a different user. I have a user called Frank, and I'll just grant him permission to the members group. So let's add Frank to this list. Make sure he's a member of members and not the owners. I just want to show you how it's not working first. So we'll click OK. And now I just want to start a in private session. I want to go to the same page, and I want to, of course, I want to go to the URL. So now I want to log in as a different user. I'll log in as Frank, and I'll use my super secret password like that. I'll hit OK, and now we're on the site as Frank. Now if you look at the source here now, what you'll see is that there is no reference to jQuery at all. It's not added because Frank obviously isn't part of the site owners group, right? So that's fine, it's working so far. Now if you just go back and again logging in as administrator, we want to grant Frank membership in the in the site owners group now to make sure he is actually, and he should get this jQuery. If we now go back in as Frank and we reload the page, now we can view the source of the page, and you'll see that now Frank also gets this reference to the jQuery. So this is how you can create a second resource type and extend one of the existing ones. Obviously, you can create whatever kind of filtering you want, but this is a sample. You can download the sample from the Coldplex site, by the way. So have fun and let me know if you have any questions.